Hey everybody, my name is Shannon. Welcome to my channel, Another Yarn. Thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. Do you remember the other day where I was talking about how I had purchased a sweater, a pre-made, hand-done, displayed, it was on display item, sweater from Wooden Spools in Colorado before they went out of business. They had their display samples on sale, and this beautiful little boy sweater, or little girl for that matter, was $40, and it feels amazing. I wish you could touch it. It is the softest, buttery soft, absolutely amazing. Definitely hand washed. Not sure the actual fiber in it. I would guess I'll smell Packer or something. I mean, it feels amazing. So I gave this to my son and daughter-in-law for their little boy, and said, here you go. And it looks like it would fit. It's beautiful, but that neck does not stretch at all. They could not, I mean, look how pretty that is. You can just see that just laying perfectly. It looks wonderful. That's why I was commenting, it's not a bad idea to have an actual human around to try things on when you're working on them. You know, minor details. I've got that same issue with a garment I made, and I'm not going to finish it up until I know that those arms work. It just, you know, I look at it now and it's like, it's way too small. So I've got to take this out, and I was feeling around for the collar. I mean, you know, it's all done, right? They picked up stitches and did all their stuff, and they seamed there. That's fine. And I'm feeling around right here. Right there is where it was finished. So I know if I sewed it up, I would practically have to take scissors to it to get that undone, that knot undone. But you can see I started picking at it, kind of picking at it a little. I might, who knows, I might actually be able to get that out completely without having to cut the yarn. I am not afraid to cut that spot, unravel a couple of rounds, and then bind it off very loose to where the child can actually wear it. I mean, look at this. You can see I'm working it. I'm trying to figure it out. I was looking at it going, huh, where does that loop go? I should probably go in a different angle and everything so you guys could see my hands and what I'm doing. You know, I might do that, because I'd like you to be able to see what I'm trying to do on here and fix that, because, well, I paid money for it, but beyond that, it's gorgeous. I didn't have to make it, and the child loves it. The parents love it, and it could be fixed. She brought it back and said, I can't use it. Even the 2-year-old couldn't get it over her head, right? So nobody could wear this at all. Can't check the length, can't check the sleeves, can't check anything else because you can't get over your head. So they're like, can you fix it? Yeah, I can fix it. I can figure that out. I can do something with it. It'll be fine. We'll do that. So I think, I don't know, I might be able to pull this out and everything in such a manner that I can get that back on the hooks. So let's go see if we can try it. Who knows? We might have success. Let's go check it out. So we can see, here we are. That's beautiful. Look at that. So let's go play. So we're downstairs on my table trying to figure this out. And you can see how tiny that neck hole is. Where'd my measuring tape go? So I got my little measuring tape just so you can see how small this is right here. And that's pretty tiny, you know, maybe 5 inches at the most, but it does not stretch that's it. It is not getting any looser. So we can't get that to fit over a child's head. This is what I'm trying to pick out right here. I've got little needles. I've got my knitting needles, different sizes, that I would use to pick up the live stitches once I get to that part. You can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find where's the end, and this can help too. It's a very blunt needle. It can help kind of pick at some of those threads to figure out which one is coming loose. And this is very similar to when you get that yarn barf and you're just trying to untangle your yarn. You're figuring out what's coming from where. Okay, so we can see right here, this part was sewn through and it went through that thread. So this is part of the end that I'm playing with. I just have to figure out where that other end is at. And I'll monkey around with this for a little bit, doing this, playing with the plies, going back and forth, just the same as you would with a big old mess tangled skein, to try to undo that. And look, I'm making a big mess right now. It's fine. I'm going to pull out 1 or 2 rounds anyway. and then get to where I can do a nice bind off, a nice loose bind off, because there's plenty of space on this. We can see that's going to fit. That's no problem right there at all. It's just this is not stretching over a child's head. And you've seen some of the garments that I have made that are extremely stretchy for my grandkids that fit over my head easily. And well, if they're going to fit over my head as the adult, then I know that they're going to fit over their head. Okay, so this is part of it right here. You can see that. That right there is part of what I'm trying to find. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, play with this for a little while. I don't know, I could probably talk for half an hour while messing with it. I could turn my voice off and just watch it. It might be entertaining. It's like some of those other do-it-yourself type videos and everything. You're just kind of watching the process going, oh, no, that's not it. Or you could be talking to me through the screen going, no, pick up that other thread. You missed it. Not that one, the other one. Either way, I think it would work. But having another needle or something like this to add leverage to see what's pulling where definitely makes a difference. So I'm going to continue to work on that, and I will come back and you'll see where I've got. I was going at this all wrong. I've been picking it through here and through here. As you can see, I've been making a mess. Look at this. All right, so once I found this, paid attention, now use this is just a blunt needle, back into the blunt needle to just loosen up some of those threads. Now I can come here, figure out what the individual did for tying an end. This is no criticism in any way, shape, or form. If you've got something and you've woven it in such a manner that it is a pain in the backside to do what I'm doing right now, then you've done a great job. So whoever did this, they did a fine job with making sure that it was not easy to unravel. So it's not going to unravel in use. It's not going to unravel in those types of things. So what I'm doing is just picking this ends now that I see where they're at. And it's still going to be a bit to get these where I need it to be. Ooh, did you see that? Did you see it when I pulled this one? I pulled this one, it moved from up here. So we're getting there. Aha, look at this. So now I should be able to find where that one's going. Okay, tug this slightly. Oh, okay, now I see it, it's right there. All right, where's that one coming from? Okay, that does come from there. Okay, that's moving that. Ah, there it is. You see that? It's right here. It's wrapped around in multiple ways. So this was pretty well on that woven in, but I'm getting there. Alrighty. I'm feeling victory. What do you think? Okay, this one's probably where the original thread is. This one's the one that's going up through here. But that's just a guess. Okay, where's that one coming? That one's coming through here. And if I end up just taking it off completely, you know, unraveling the wrong one, that's okay. I'll just use the live stitches from here or pick up right there on that rust colored and go that route. Because you can see I'm making a hole. So I'm going to have to take all of this off anyway, because I have made a hole and kind of made a mess of things just trying to find where this has been attached and how this was sewn on. That's okay. I'm still going to be able to get it to where we have a usable garment in the end. And that's really what we're getting at. That's the whole goal of this. So I'm going about this backwards, upside down, creating a nice hole right there. That's easy to fix. But I mean, this is like a knotted through here. So whoever did this did what I would have done. And that is just running that thread back and forth through here. So no doubt did a really good job with that. Looks like this right here, I'm unweaving with it. I'm not sure if this one might be the one going up. We're going to find out though. Now I'm determined. Ooh, look at that. Making a big old hole. Okay, so it looks like these, I've got live stitches here, or I will once I keep unraveling this tan color, but I've got lots of knitting needles here. I can pick up those stitches. That's not a problem. And make it happen. So who else is out there just kind of like, oh my gosh, she is dissecting that sweater. What is going on? Does this give anyone else like, you know, uneasy feelings? It's kind of nice. It's kind of fun. It's a little bit relaxing. It's a puzzle. As I'm unweaving, it is definitely a puzzle right here. And you know, they might have done this as just 2 pieces and then sewn together. And this one's, I've already messed that part up. Do I have something over there? Looks like that's part of the bottom of a stitch. I might want to put that, I might want to hold that. Let's see. I have a cute little marker right here. I'm going to go like this, just so it doesn't go anywhere, in case that's the case. I don't know. This was going to be a simple little operation. What do you think? Does this seem like a simple operation to you? Would you do this with your stuff, whether it's yours that you bought or something after you made it and sewed it together? That's always, to me, the absolute most discouraging, is when I've sewn something on and I've done like this and I've done a really good job of sewing. I mean, look at this. Look how this has been sewn together. I've done a good job. I've made sure that it's not going to come out in the wash. It's not going to come out super easy. You're going to have to fight it and then realize, oh wait, something's not quite right. All right, so look at that. That's perfect. We've got this here. This is probably, I did unravel this. This right here was holding this stitch. This is the bottom of a stitch. Where'd that little marker go? Down. And all this was done back and forth. So this was not done on circular needles. This was done back and forth and just sewn together right here, and very, very tightly. So I might end up being, that's the case, of ripping all of this out for the collar itself. And let's see, do I have live stitches or were they just picking up? I think, yep, you can see right here, that's a stitch on a stitch. So there's probably live stitches there if I went down far enough. I believe that's the case. But we have to do something. I can, let's see. I can take this out and I can take that last row. I'd have to pull out 2 rows because I'm going to make it looser and I wouldn't have enough yarn to make it looser if this is my tail. So I'm going to have to pull out at least 2 rows, pick up those stitches, and re-knit that bind off. Alrighty, there we go. Here's a needle. Here, let me get the golden one, a little bit smaller. All right, so I'm just going to pick up the stitches, or at least make sure that I don't lose them. We've done this before on some of the projects. As I'm pulling this out, I'm just going right here, pulling that stitch, and then pulling off any, because it's a kind of a sticky yarn, so it's sticking to itself a little, sticking the needle right there into that stitch and then pulling that out gently. You see that? So we're going like that and picking up the stitches. And I'm going to go all the way around like that, picking up all of those stitches. Don't really have to do it like this. I could rip out one whole row first and then try to pick them up, but while I've got this one stitch at a time, no chance of, you know, no real harm in trying to drop stitches, so we're good on that. I've got some of that rust colored fuzz sticking on. Can you see? I don't know if you can see that right here. So I've got a needle. I'm going to see if I can break that fuzz. There we go. So that's one of the things here. I'm teasing those threads for that rust colored fuzz has gotten on here. So I'm kind of teasing that at the same time and getting that to where it'll let go, and just picking up that one stitch all the way around. This has been a bit more than I expected it to be, a little bit more cumbersome, but yet kind of fun. I mean, it's nice to be able to take your projects, in this case it was somebody else's, and fix it, make it the way you want to, make it work the way that you want it to work. All right, so I've got more of that fuzz. That's what I'm holding on to right here. Let go, let go. All right. See, I'm trying to drop a stitch right here because of that fuzz. There we go. And I'm not so concerned, like this one, I don't have it necessarily oriented the right way. I'm not concerned about that. I've got another row I've got to pull out anyway. And I'll fix and adjust before I start knitting again. And going like this, the one stitch at a time has helped me to break off any of that fuzz that I have. It's a lovely yarn. I don't know what yarn this one was for the display, which, you know, what yarn they use, but it's absolutely lovely. It's very soft, very cozy. Okay. We are moving right along. So I grabbed a couple different needle sizes. I think my other ones that I had right there are 8s. And I was thinking that this needed to be bound off an 8 or higher, just to make sure that it's very, very loose. We're continuing to go around. I wonder if the pattern, I'm sure it did, but I'm wondering if the pattern actually was one of those that's knit flat and you seam all the pieces, since this neckline was done flat, as we can see, and then, or back and forth, not flat, but it's back and forth and then just seamed up the side. I would have, for me personally, even if I were making this pattern and it was written like that, that is that creative license, and I would have taken some double pointed needles if I had them, and I do, but not everyone does, and I get that too. But I would have taken my double pointed needles and I would have gone that route, or even if not a double pointed, just the circular like I have right now. This one's probably too long of a cable for it, but this circular with that cable, the 16-inch, that would have worked fine for that neckline. So just different options. And that's why I grabbed the different knitting needles to do that. That's why I've got that sewing thread out that I was able to tease that yarn free on the bind off. So that really surprised me. I figured it was just going to be like a knot towards the top, and originally that's what I was going to do, is just cut that at the very top. So I'm glad I took the time showing this to you and going over that. This is that, so you can see that thread's just caught. I'm glad I did that, because I could have really made a mess and potentially lost the yarn. Had too many cuts in it to reuse it. So really happy about that. Yeah, it's nice to take the time. Okay, we got this one right here, this right here. And we've got this stitch right here because when I was looking for that end, I unraveled that. So that's going to have to be tacked down also. That's why I have that little marker right there, is just to hold that. It's not going to go anywhere, but just to hold that. So we've pulled out all of them, and you can see even this is a larger ring, but could have easily gone on circulars with something like this with these stitches. That would have worked fine if you know, not having the double pointed needles. So what we just did is put all of that on the needles. Now I'm going to have to do another row, take another row off, because there's not enough yarn to bind off. I don't have any more of this yarn. I don't have more of the rust color. I just don't have any of the yarn at all, for that matter, because I bought the project done. So you can see with the right here, I've got more of that fuzz in there. So just trying to tease that out too. Let me grab the other needle. Yeah. And what I mean by that, the fuzz, it's like felted together. It's the strands have wrapped around each other, and there you go. And that's like, if you have a mohair yarn or something that's super fuzzy, a lot of times people say don't make mistakes with it. That's what they mean. You can unravel some of it, not all of it. But you have to go really slow, one stitch at a time. It's painstaking, like I'm doing with this. And if you do get it stuck, you have to kind of tease out those extra threads. You can use scissors to snip it. You can do what I did with the needle and kind of pulling it apart. Whatever you have to do, just gently to do that. Those types of yarns look great in wonderful pattern stitches or whatever designs, but I wouldn't design something with that yarn, not the designing process, because, well, designing process, it's hit or miss. You're doing trial and error with all sorts of things, and you have to rip it back out. Once you get your pattern figured out and you understand, by all means, make your final product with it like that, and that would be wonderful. All right, so we are almost to the end of undoing these, and then it's just a matter of binding off extremely loose and then figuring out with that how they've got it sewn together, trying to make sure that that's loose enough. I'm going to go ahead and try it this way. If I don't like it after binding off, I'll rip out the entire collar now that I have the end, and then redo it in its entirety. Put a few rounds on it, just something that's a little bit more loose, a little comfortable. Maybe do it in the round completely and not this back and forth like this. Either the pattern called for it or the person didn't have the equipment or something along that line. I believe it was probably one of those patterns that called for that, and they just followed the pattern as written. I would not have. But if I was doing a test knit or something like that, then I would. And you can see because of that, look at this gap that they have to fill up. So when they sewed that together, that made it even tighter because you're going like this, right? You're making that. And you could put 3 or 4 more stitches in that big bump, right? And you've got some large seams right here too. Glad I don't have to pull out any of that with the rust color because that's some thick seams type pushed in there, splitting the yarn as they did the weaving in, which I do also. That just makes it really hard for it to unravel on its own, and it makes it really difficult to unravel after the fact. So what do we think? Should I just rip all of it out and do it the way I was saying, or I think it kind of needs it. What do you think? I think it does. Now that I see that and that's where that is, do you think I can live with that? I mean, obviously I bought it like that. It's fine. But what do we think? Can we get that back sewn like that? That's how it was sewn. Would you leave it? Would you do it a little bit more? Do we have any decreases in here? Okay, so look, we've got, it looks like we've got some decreasing. Yeah, we do. So it looks like we've got some decreasing a little bit here in some of these. I don't know if I would want to do all the decreases that we've got. So we've got a couple pearls right here and everything, and then doing the one. You can see that kind of angles right here. So we did do some decreasing on this. I'm not so sure I want to leave it like that. All right, now it looks, you can see already, it looks better, more relaxed. What does this say? A little bit bigger of the opening, but then it's gonna, that right there has a lot more give as long as we make it loose enough. All right. Now look at me, I'm pulling the needles off because I'm playing with it. I think we've gone this far. We should probably at least try it. It's not that much to pull back out. What do we think? You know what I'm going to do? I'll move this out of the way. You know what I'm going to do? Okay, since we've got that hole there that needs to be dealt with anyway, I'm going to go ahead and make this in the round. Let's see. There we go. So, is that too big of an... Did I put too big of a cord on this one? Probably. All right, so I'm going to go like this with my needles, and I'm going to continue in the round. There's a stitch right there. All right, I'm going to do it like this instead of going back the other way. And with that tail, I'll go ahead and sew that up. So let's see if I can get that loose enough. I don't know. It's been kind of entertaining doing it like this. And you know, the nice thing with yarn is I haven't messed anything up. I've got this, I've got the trial and error along this line. Well, I want to use a bigger needle. I want to use at least an 8. That's a tiny needle. I should get a bigger needle for it than that, but I'm lazy and I don't want to go grab it. And I had my 8s out because a lot of my sweaters right now are being worked on 8s. You see how loose I'm doing this? Even though I've got it on 8s, I'm doing it very loose. This collar is going to roll. I don't have a problem with that rolling. Just a design element of it. And the nice thing too is I'm going to be at that hole right there with that last of my thread, last of the yarn, and I haven't cut anything, and I can take that and I can use that tail to sew up that hole. And that gives me plenty of yarn to do that. No issues. Make sure that it's secure. Try to make it look as nice as possible. I do like the color blocking in this one. I like that the sweater is stockinette, and then you've got that garter stitch with the beige right in the around the middle of the garment. I think that's really a nice touch. I don't know what pattern this is, and it doesn't look hard. Okay. All right, so that's looser than what we had it. And like I said, the cool thing is, even if I don't get it loose enough, I can always rip it out, just like I've done. It'll be easier since I know where my tail's at, and try it again. And maybe go get a bigger knitting needle and not be so lazy. Sometimes we like to make things more difficult and just take that lazy, easy route. Well, we'll see if that bites me. I'm going pretty loose, so hopefully it won't. I'm going a lot looser than what the original bind off was, so that should make a difference. If I really, really wanted to, I could just grab 2 of the knitting needles and do that at the same time. You know, like when you cast on, sometimes if you are very, very tight when you cast on, you can cast on over both needles and then pull one of the needles out, and then that leaves your cast on more of a loose, more comfortable cast on. Some people when they're knitting, that's just how they knit. It's super, super tight. And they can't get over that. So that is one trick that you can use. So we are quite a bit looser, but I'm not sure if it's going to be loose enough. I might have to do this again off camera, because how many times do you want to see me bind off on this thing? I mean, you might. I mean, I watch myself do it and I find it fascinating. You might find it fascinating. I don't know. Could be. That is enjoyable. All right, so the time will tell. We got less than 5 stitches left, and then I get to, just like you, see it at the same time going, did I do it? Is it better? Is it looser? Or do I rip it out and do it again? So let's see. And as we said, right here, I'm right here at the very edge with this, so I can easily use all of that yarn to weave in. Here we go. So it's not going anywhere. Look at that orange fuzz. So that's not going anywhere. I've got all of this right here to darn in, and this end down here to fill in this gap. I don't like that gap at all. All right, so no, that's still a lot looser than what we had. Let me measure that. It does feel looser to me, but I still think it's too tight. And we are looser because before it wasn't even at that 5 inches. 5 inches was on the outside edge over here, so we got 5.5. So we did make it looser, but I'm still not happy with it. So I'm gonna have to pull that out and do that again. I'll do that off camera, and then I will show you what I came up with, because I know at this point you really want to see. I want to see. I'm not really sure, but I tried, and you know, that's half the battle. I tried, so we're gonna get it right. Okay, so I've got the collar completely off, and I had 9 live stitches in the back, 9 live stitches in the front. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is take all my tan yarn, pick up stitches along the edge just like they did, knit along these 9, pick up more stitches here and here, knit those 9, and come back over to where I've joined. I'm going to make more. I didn't count how many stitches they had, but I'm going to have more stitches than what they had. I'm going to go ahead and do this in the round, put a couple rounds of this in a ribbing, and then I will bind off on that. So I'll come back and show you what it looks like once I've got stitches picked. I was able to pick up 23 stitches from here to here, do the 9 stitches that were already on the needles, and pick up another 23 up there, and then the other 9. So now it's just a matter of going around and around with that much yarn and binding off. A long exercise to getting this to hopefully fitting the little guy. Okay, so what I did here is on this piece, I decided that I was going to do a garter stitch for the collar right here, because we have the garter stitch on the cuff. We have the garter stitch detail through the center of the sweater, and then we have the garter stitch on the hem. And I thought that would just integrate it very nicely. I did pick up more stitches, or I think I did. I didn't count what they originally had, but I think I have more stitches than what they did. I do have to weave in my ends. Here's the yarn that I had left over. And I didn't want to push it too much more. I don't think I would have had enough to go around again. So I picked up all the stitches on the neck edge. We had 9 live stitches in the front and 9 live in the back. Everything else was picked up. I did a row of purl stitches, round of purl stitches, then a round of knit, another round of purl, and then I did my bind off. And I made sure that bind off was plenty loose and gave some stretch. So you notice that on the previous one before we ripped it out, you didn't have the ability to stretch like that. It was bound off. It looked great, but it wasn't loose enough to where you could get an actual head through it. So here we are. I'm going to go ahead and snip those ends, weave that in, and I now have a usable garment with just a tad bit of surgery. A little longer than what I had expected, but that's okay. I think it's worth it to have a usable garment. And my grandson and granddaughter, for that matter, are going to love wearing this, since I'm pretty sure that they're going to share. Well, that took a whole lot longer than I expected, but look at that. Now have a finished little sweater that will be very usable for either grandchild. And then if you remember from the beginning of the video, because I didn't take a picture beforehand, that would have been smart. Look how the collar shows even on my neck. That other one wouldn't have. So here we have it. I'm very happy that I took the time and re-knit the entire collar. I think that's going to look nicer. It's going to lay nicer, feel nicer for the little guy. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. Usable garment. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. You guys have a great day, night, evening, whatever it happens to be. And I will talk to you again later. Bye-bye.